Hello. Hello and welcome to my vlog. I think it's recording. Yeah. So, Evo, before I start, okay, so normally I open up this template, but I kind of skipped a step. Basically, I take the MP3 files, because that's what they're recorded as, and then I go to this website, which you'll be able to find a link to in Notion, and I convert them to WAV files. I don't know why, but Ableton, that is how they work. They only let me do. Yeah, they only let me let you edit with WAV files. So
hello everyone, and welcome to Celebrating Cinema. In this return,
already see, look. So this stuff here, this is what's called mic bleeding. That's when another mic can pick up audio from the other person's mic that's speaking. So already I will cut it out. Sometimes, so like here I can kind of see already it's going to be mic bleeding. But if you're unsure, leave it until you hear the audio to just confirm that it is. But yeah, let's have a listen to this interview.
And welcome to Celebrating Cinema. In this returning... see, I do this a lot. Hello everyone, and welcome to Celebrating Cinema. This is the launch of a new series.
So already you can hear that I'm having to do this over and over again. Maybe because I'm nervous because it's with Ashley, who knows. But what I'll do is I'll wait and I'll listen.
You will be returning.
I'll wait and then I'll listen until I get it right, and then I'll go back and edit it.
We will be returning, called Future Frames. Future Frames. In this series, each of our hosts, myself, Kiliko, Hugo, Tom, and our new host, Sophie, will be spotlighting a filmmaker of our choice who we are excited to be making films.
This is so hard to listen to, but anyway, let's have a listen. Also, really easy to delete this, or we can go back. This, I just press the backspace and it's done. But say if you want it to cut, so I'll do it just for an example, but say this, you want to bring these two together, you just press Command Shift and then back, and then it cuts it and brings it to the point at which you want to cut it to. But I'm going to press Command Z because that's not what I want. Yeah, I'm going to save this as like your first intro, and then let's just edit it to begin with.
Are excited to be making films, who we're excited to see what they do in their filmmaking path, and we want to get to know them, chat with them, find out what it is that has led them to pursue a crazy career of filmmaking, and see what influences what films have made an impact on them. Joining me today, my pick for this edition of Future Frames is a Rotterdam-based filmmaker, a Rotterdam-based photographer turned filmmaker, Ashley Rutgers. Right?
Yeah, Ashley Rutgers. Yeah.
Ashley Rutgers. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Maybe bring the mic a bit closer.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry. Okay, we'll get into it, but...
Is this okay?
Yeah, that's
okay.
perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you, Ashley, for joining.
So I already know I can cut this, so I'm going to press Command, Shift, and Backspace. And then here, I know there's mic bleeding. And even anyway, you don't always necessarily have to do this, but I just tend to cut all of this out just to optimize the sound.
Right?
Yeah, Ashley Rutgers. Yeah.
Ashley Rutgers. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Ashley, for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Like I said, I first came across you.
So, I'm also going to go back to the intro later, just so you know, because I know that I also re-recorded the intro at the end. You can tell why. But yeah, so here.
I found
So I've isolated this, and I want to get rid of that. My thought process here is that you hear me say, like I said. In this, I'm referring to something I've said outside of the podcast, so it doesn't really make much sense to someone listening to hear that. So I'm just going to cut and start where it would make sense. So again, I press Command Shift Backspace. I then listen back.
Thank you, Ashley, for joining. I found.
So I can keep the maybe. Sometimes I don't because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. In fact, I'm going to delete it.
Thank you, Ashley, for joining. I first came across your films at IDFA Meets.
So you can even see me deleting it again because this start makes more sense.
I first came across your films at IDFA Meets. I watched Celestial Space.
So here there's a. So I can cut this bit out. It's a bit weird. You don't really hear it, but again, I'm a bit of a perfectionist.
Meets. I watched Celestial Spaces, a meditation of liberation practices, and I was truly moved by it. Just sort of, I think, having watched a lot of meditation of liberation practices, and I was.
So here, let's listen. There's some weird sounds. I think my mouth making some weird noises.
Truly moved.
So we delete that.
Liberation practices, and I was truly moved by it. Just sort of, I think, having watched a lot of what is available to watch, the images you create are very elegant, and they really capture sort
of. Sometimes I would take this out. Let's listen.
What is available to watch. The images you create are very elegant, and they really capture sort of a very natural human beauty. And we'll get into that.
So this arm probably makes more sense to keep, but the other arm I think sounds fine without.
Natural human beauty. And we'll get into that a bit more about how you're able to do that coming from a background of photography. But maybe let's start by, what's the first film that you ever watched or you remember watching?
Thank you. That was.
Or you remember watching?
Thank you. That was really some nice words. Thank you.
So I don't like my awkward laugh.
Thank you. That was really some nice words. Thank you so much. So I was thinking about this, like what I remember from like childhood when I started watching a lot of films. And my mom has always been obsessed with films and series and everything.
So here again, I'm deleting this stuff. To be honest, I don't have to, but because you don't even see anything, or like, so maybe here, if you look down here, it gives you like a more close-up look of what you've highlighted. So that's sometimes why I delete it, just because it's so small. Again here,
films and series and everything. So she would.
Okay, this is also something good to look out for. Hugo does this a lot, so it's good to know. And it normally looks like this, maybe a bit bigger if it's a bit louder. But it's like where people go before they speak, you know? So I often cut that out, and I'll do that. So Command Shift Backspace.
And everything. So she would always get these like burner DVD. Always get these like burner DVD.
So here you can hear her like breathing. Sometimes people keep it in. I like to keep it out. If you do keep it in, sometimes Tom will apply these filters that filter out these kind of small, low-level sounds. So again, up to you, but I would cut this. I don't always bring in the whole space. What I do is normally about half. It's just over half, so and then I listen back.
Always get these like burner DVDs, like these sort of bootleg DVDs, and we would just.
But then it sounds weird, to be honest.
Get these like burner DVDs.
So maybe I cut all of it.
Get these like burner DVDs, like these.
Listen again.
Would always get these like burner DVDs, like these sort of bootleg DVDs, and we would just watch everything.
So I think me saying yeah is too loud there. I'm gonna take it out and just see if you can still hear me.
Sort of bootleg DVDs, and we would just watch everything. But I think
So so you can hear me saying yes still even if I delete this. So what I'm gonna do is cut around it, and then here you don't need to do this too much because again Tom will do a lot of the mixing, but already I'll just bring it down a bit. Listen,
like DVDs, and we would just watch everything. But I think one of the first films that really like spoke to me, which is gonna sound sort of offbeat, is spoke to me, which is gonna to me, spoke to me, which is
yeah. So I got rid of just you'll get used to hearing these, but
spoke to me, which
it sounds a bit softer now.
spoke to me, which is gonna sound sort of which is gonna.
So again, she repeats the or she says a word, then she says a different word. So I'm going to cut this. Let's listen.
To me, which is gonna sound sort of offbeat, is
it just helps the flow of the conversation, at least for me.
Spoke to me, which is gonna sound sort of offbeat, is Charlie's Angels.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Every time I say this, people are like, "What?"
So
is Charlie's Angels.
Sorry, maybe I shouldn't take stuff out without explaining. But so first, she said Charlie's Angels. What I will do then is add locator. You always need to go here first before you can then use this shortcut. I don't know why. So then I'll put Charlie's Angels. Basically, I'm just keeping note of all the films that are mentioned so that when there's a when I make the films mention list on the website, I can just do it by looking at these locators.
Angels?
Really?
So there's a bit of mic bleeding there.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
So more mic bleeding. I don't like my response, so I'll cut it. You'll probably be able to be a bit more objective because you don't have to listen to yourself speak.
Really? Every time I...
So, bit of a longer gap now.
Really? Every time I say this, people are like, "What?"
So, there's more mic bleeding here. And we hear the tut, so I'm going to cut it. Let's listen.
What? It's because, I mean, I was very young at the time, which, you know, is questionable. But we had it on VHS, and I just thought it was...
So again, here a tutting. Just cutting out more mic bleeding.
VHS, and I just thought it was so badass. I just thought it was so badass. I was like, you know, back then I wasn't...
Let's see if I can delete this.
So badass. I was like, you know, back then I wasn't aware of like all the, you know, sexism, or I wasn't even aware of what that even meant. I was just like, wow, these are some badass women.
Yeah.
Like fighting off men.
Let's see if I cut this out.
Women. Like fighting off. Like fight. Like.
So that's the mic bleeding, me saying, yeah, I can get rid of that.
Women. Like fighting off men, and they're winning, and the sort of absurdity of the film, I don't know, really stuck with me, and I would like watch this film for winning, and the sort of absurdity of the
so often what I'm doing is I allow it to
the sort of absurdity.
Sorry, I shouldn't speak at the same time. I'm allowing it to continue to play while doing stuff like mic bleeding, and then if I lose focus, I'll replay it back, or if I hear something, I'll then play it again to check.
The sort of absurdity of the film, I don't know, really stuck with me, and I would like watch this film all the time. Like,
really?
Yeah, honestly, again.
So this is mic bleeding. Mic bleeding. Listen back.
Like,
really?
Yeah, honestly, again, like, shout out to my mom for allowing me to watch that. But it was like the first film where I was like, oh, this is amazing, and like the use of music and like all these scenes, amazing, and like the use of.
So you can hear her breathing. This will probably be cut out, but or filtered out when Tom does mixing. But I sometimes do it just to be sure.
Music and like all these scenes, they were sort of like so crazy.
Yeah.
Like it was so unexpected the way.
I also hate how many times I keep saying yeah, so let's cut it.
Crazy, like it was so unexpected. Like it was so
So she says it twice. Sometimes it's fine to keep, but just in case people hear me saying, yeah, I'm going to delete it.
crazy. Like it was so unexpected. The way the film progresses, like so unrealistic, obviously. But like back then, I was like, whoa. So that was the first film where I was like, yeah, that's sick. But back then, I had no idea I would ever like get into film or.
Okay. Good thing is to always save it. So I always start in this template, which I can send to you once you're set up. So I'd save live set as new folder for desktop. Okay. Okay, that's kind of the gist of it. I may make another one depending on if I come across anything. But yeah.